Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the beautiful city of Las Vegas, Nevada. We are here at the Aria Resorts and Casinos Poker Go studio to kick off our brand new tournament. It's the Vainglory Premier League Fantasy All-Stars. As you can see, we're joined on set by a few friendly faces here. My name is Munchballs. I'm going to be joined by my partner in crime, as always, Tasty Bacon. We're also going to be joined by Starboy, Lost Boy Top, Xenotech, and Old School. Guys, welcome to the set. How is your travel? Are you excited to be part of the first weekend of the Vainglory Fantasy All-Stars?
Dude, Munchables, I'm ecstatic, man. I've been preparing for months, day and night, practicing. It's been exhausting, but I'm glad I'm finally here. I'm ready to take the dub, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different style of tournament as well. Like, you guys, are you prepared coming into this one? Have you had to try and change strategies compared to usual competition here?
Absolutely. If anything, we're over-prepared here, man.
All right, we'll have to see how this is going to be happening here. But we're also going to be joined by the wonderful Karina, who's going to be our hostess dealing with the draft board. And your first foray into esports as well. Are you excited to be here?
I am, yes. This reminds me of my fantasy football draft, except for everybody has cool user or gamer names. Now I want one, so I'm going to be thinking of one as we
All right, we'll have to mull it over the course of the broadcast. And of course, I'm going to be joined by Tasty Bacon, my partner in crime. Man, we're changing things up for this tournament. You got to be hyped to see something different here in Vainglory.
Yeah, it's going to be so cool to see this style of event where these four guys are going to be drafting themselves a team of fantasy all-stars of their own and then duking it out head-to-head with only one team coming home with the prize. Winner takes all. So, you know, they're all pretty friendly right now. Not sure if that's going to be the case at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see across the course of these games. Let's take a look at how this is all going to be panning out, though, across the course of the weekend, as we can take a look at our E-Stars format. There are going to be 4 weekends of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars tournament, but they are going to be separate weekend tournaments. And as you said before, it is winner takes all. We'll start off today with the captains drafting out a squad of superstar players. And then tomorrow, they'll jump into a round robin to battle it out with one best-of-3 final to take the entire prize.
Yeah, that's the key. There's only one of them going to be getting that prize, but there's going to be more prizes up for grabs than just what they're fighting for, because you at home are going to have an opportunity to walk away with some great prizes yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. We are giving away a ton of stuff across the course of this tournament just for you guys at home watching online. We're going to be giving away a ton of ice. We have 100,000 ice to give away across the 4 weekends. We have a bunch of gift cards and some swag as well. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let me introduce the guys that we're going to be joined with here. We'll start off at the far end. We've got Starboy coming on in, international superstar here. Now, you've got a bit of a storied history in Vainglory, but honestly, I think it's fair to say you are one of the biggest Vainglory personalities on Twitter specifically.
Twitter, yeah, absolutely. Huge following. I mean, you know, at Lang.
At Lang.
Yep.
2 N's, 9 G's, I think it is.
There's a lot of G's.
There's too many G's, if anything. Yeah.
Used to have another following as well, but notorious for being one of the bigger trolls in the Vainglory community, I think it's fair to say. But that's what people like about Starboy. That's why one of the things that brings people to Starboy streams.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Twitch.tv/Starboy.
Yep.
I mean, what actually happened when you originally? Because for any guys at home that don't know, Starboy was pretty big on Twitter and then managed to get himself banned. What actually happened there?
I don't think they liked my Twitter handle was Vainglory Game. Some people got it mixed up with the Vainglory Game, but
That's pretty surprising. I don't know how anyone could get confused there. We're also going to be joined by Lost Boy Top here on the show. Welcome to the studio, my friend. Obviously, you are one of the most renowned players for longevity in the scene, but also your 1v3 plays. Are you going to be able to bring out that solo play here on the stage?
I'm hoping so. Like, it hasn't really happened in a while, but like I'm definitely trying to pull something out of my sleeve, hopefully.
Is there is there some kind of magic that has to happen? How do you pull out of plays like that, man?
It just has to, I don't know, everything has to just be perfect, and I just have to be there at the right time. It just has to be a perfect moment for me.
It's just all in the moment. I see. Okay, we're also going to be joined by Xenotech, stepping out of the graveyard, stepping away from the stream to join us here in the studio. Are you excited to bring some of that professional experience to the stage and hopefully draft a superstar squad?
I'm absolutely feeling ghoulish right now. I'm hoping to bring the dub in for the Ghoul Nation. There's a lot of great talent here in this draft, and I'm just so stoked. I'm going to bring in the dub.
All right, we'll see if that's going to be able to happen.
And one of the things with Xenotech, and in a lot of the previous teams, we've talked about how is Xenotech going to mesh with the team that he's going into. Well, now he gets to create that team. So, kind of going to be a little bit of a different side of the coin this time.
Dude, it's going to be spicy. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to throw some spicy players together and see what happens.
All right, we'll have to see if it's going to work out. Obviously, all four of these guys are going to be against each other. But last but not least, we have Old School coming on in. Now, for any of you guys who've been living under a rock, Old School, long-time professional player, currently on Tribe Gaming with a ton of professional tournament experience. Old School, do you think that's going to be able to help you throughout this tournament?
I think my competitive experience is going to be a huge factor for this tournament.
Okay, what is that experience going to bring? Because obviously some of these players are going to be kind of solo queue style players. We're not going to have that same level of preparation as you would for a professional tournament. What does that bring to the table for you?
I think mainly the shot calling is going to be really there because as someone with a lot of competitive experience, if I have like other top players on my team, they're going to be able to like easily mix in, and it's not going to take a lot of preparation for it to like work out.
So you're not worried about the fact that this is going to be the first time in like a year and a half that you're going to be playing in a competitive event without Gabe Vizzle or I Love Joseph on the team with you. Is there any sort of concerns about that? You guys have been together for so long, and they're not even part of this pool today that you can draft from.
I think it'll be okay.
Short and sweet. Short and sweet. That's what I like to see there. But we can take a look over at our draft board as well. So Karina is going to be our co-host here, taking us through the draft. Do you want to talk us through what's going on over on your side of the set?
Yeah, so basically I'm just going to do whatever they tell me to do as far as the players go. They'll choose their gamer. Is that what you say, gamer? And I will put it under their name, and that's it.
All right, so we'll be moving the names up as they get picked. I mean, speaking of the gamers, we've got to see what our pool is going to look like. We have 24 players that are going to be selectable here. You can see them on your screen now. They are ranked based on ELO and competitive experience. I did the rankings, so if you have any issues with them, tweet at me and just flame me online. But, I mean, when we look at this list, it's, there's a lot of players, especially in that top 10, that really stand out from the crowd, a lot of professional experience. I mean, you guys here, who are the guys that are really going to jump out? I mean, Old School, you've got some teammates on this list. Yeah. Are you leaning towards those guys?
Yeah, for sure, but I think they're actually going to be taken away.
Yeah, I mean, that would not surprise me. Like, do you guys have any strategies coming into this draft? Are there some players further down the list that you're maybe eyeing up and people maybe don't know about?
Honestly, there's just so many good players. I think it's going to be easier to just eliminate the bad players from the start. Just, for example, take off Chuck right off the bat, and from there you can work with the rest of the player pool.
Okay. Oh, man. You're going to Chuck, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, personally, I feel like Chuck is a relatively decent player. I mean, he's got a 90% win rate in solo queue, just throwing it out there. But you guys seem completely unimpressed by that. I was like mind blown when I saw that.
That's true.
All right, well, let's take a look at what is on the line for these guys. $2,000 is going to be the prize pool this weekend. There's going to be $2,000 each weekend of the tournament. But most importantly, it is winner takes all.
Yeah, only one of the teams will be able to gain that money and walk away with a little bit of extra padding in their pocket. As we alluded to earlier, there are going to be some giveaways going on as well in the Twitch chat and on Twitter, so make sure that you are staying active all weekend long.
And these are happening per week as well. We have 25,000 ice that's going to be given away, 10,000 today, 15,000 tomorrow. We've got a whole bunch of gift cards going to be coming at you, as well as a whole bunch of Vainglory swag. We've got t-shirts, plushies, and stickers that are going to be coming your way. So I'm excited to see who's going to be our winners. That's all going to be happening in the Twitch chat, so make sure that you're checking out the Twitch chat for those giveaways and you're keeping your eyes peeled. But we're getting close to our draft, gentlemen. Are we excited? Are we ready to jump on into this one? I mean, you guys you may be friends in real life, but your opponents for the weekend. Are you ready to bring your A game here?
Dude, I'm ecstatic.
I'm ready to bring everyone down.
Okay.
Just so flamboyant right now.
Okay, excellent. So, pure excitement coming from the desk. We're going to be jumping into the draft just after this break. Make sure you stick with us, but first, a quick word from Razor. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are about ready to kick off our draft here for the VPL Fantasy All-Stars. And it is all going to be kicking off over the course of the next hour or so. We'll have our teams locked in, and we'll see which these guys are going to be picking up. We're going to be starting off with you, Starboy. You are officially on the clock. Start me off right. Where do your eyes immediately go on this list?
Oh, man. Honestly, right off the bat, the right side is looking pretty good, 17 through 24. Not super familiar with some of the other players, but like I said, it's just there's so many good players to choose from that I think we're going to have to just start off by mentally just getting rid of the bad players in my mind. Again, I'm kind of unfamiliar with some of these, though. Munch, can you help me out a little bit, dude?
I mean, which players in specific? I mean, there's definitely
The
a couple
first
towards the left.
Yeah.
I mean, starting all over, you may have heard of him. He happened to win the VPL Summer Open. Probably the best mid that there is in Vainglory. Yeah, no, ring any bells? Okay. There's also Chuck. You actually mentioned Chuck yourself, so I'm struggling to believe you don't know who he is.
Yeah, no, we're just going to pass right on over that one.
Okay, straight veto on Chuck. Okay, I'm with you.
Now, one of the things that has to go into deciding this first pick, though, is the fact that, you know, you are going to be figuring out the positions that all these players are going to play in. So you have to also decide what position you want to play as the captain of your team. Not necessarily the captain, you know, in role, but you have to figure out what position you're going to play and then build around that. So let's say, you know, starting all over, Chuck, both very well-known mid laners. If one of these guys wants to play mid themselves, maybe that's a pick that they do pass over.
I mean, if it was me drafting and I have starting all over, I would put myself in a different role so that starting can carry me to victory. That's where I stand on that one. But I do believe we have some guys getting involved online on Twitter. We have the hashtag VPL. You guys at home can get involved in the conversation. You can see the conversation is already kicking off online. Welcome back, Starboy, to the scene, essentially, is the gist of the conversation, because you've been gone a little while. It's good to see your face around these parts once again.
Yeah, man, I'm back. You know, the grind never stops. I've been practicing 24/7, hardly getting any sleep. It's just when it gets down to it, it's just there's a lot of pressure despite my preparations. It's just, you have to also consider players' mentality too, you know, man, because some of these players, they might be really good, but they might tilt each other. Like if I have Starting and Truth on the same team, that's not going to go well.
I mean, it went pretty well for them in the Summer Open, I have to say. Let's talk a little bit about the roles that we have here as well. Do you guys have any preference on which roles you're going to be going on for first? Because, I mean, Baker mentioned if you're a mid laner, you don't want a mid laner, but is there a role that you think is the most important in Vainglory that you've got to get locked down here?
Probably the support is what I'm guessing, which is, honestly, that's why I'm more drawn to Maurice the Beast. He's really good on support heroes, but he plays them in lanes, so it's kind of a best of both worlds. So, I don't know, man. Munch, who do you think I should go for? Starting, Maurice?
I mean,
at this point, it's one or the other, man.
Starting on Maurice? I mean, Maurice is a beast, but I have to say starting all over is the most recent winner in Vainglory in terms of competitive player.
He is, but so is Truth of Light. Truth of Light is, and so is Delphi. Those are 3 players that could all be a first
Very true.
pick worthy.
Very
but,
true.
you know,
Delphi got MVP
start
during the
with
Summer
you.
Open.
Having the first pick, like, what is that? Does that you feel gives you an advantage to the rest of you? Are you jealous of having that first pick, or are you still going to be comfortable with what gets passed down to you when it gets to you?
I don't know. I whatever he chooses, I feel like there's still a lot of good open picks that I could probably play comfortable with.
I mean, speaking of those picks, they are on your screen right now. As you can see, the top sort of 8 players are on the left of the screen. My opinion, I think they are probably the priority picks. These guys seem to disagree with me for some reason, but we are starting to run out of time here, Starboy. So, first pick, you're under a minute now. Where are you leaning with this one?
It's just a lot of pressure, man. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to go for it. We're going to go with starting all over. Surprise pick, but you know what? I want to see what he can put out there.
All right, so going
Awesome.
for the rank 1 player. That's a very surprising pick to me. I mean,
Just had to switch it up, honestly.
yeah, I could have just done that.
Good choice. You did well under the pressure.
Yeah, so starting all over, going to be stepping on in as the very first lock-in.
A lot of pressure now for starting all over, knowing that he's the first pick, that he's going to have to perform up to #1 draft pick standards.
I mean, he was tweeting that he's going to be the #1 pick. What are your gentlemen's thoughts here on this first pick? Were you guys essentially going to go for starting all over? Like, where are you leaning now?
I'm absolutely floored. That was like my favorite pick ever in the world, and can't handle this pressure anymore.
Okay, so he's going to really feel the pressure. All right, well.
So were you guys all expecting starting all over to be the first pick, or were one of you maybe thinking he could go somewhere else and you might get the starting all over pick?
I was expecting like at least one of us was going to choose like one of the top 4 players, but like I don't know. I think starting is a great player, but I feel like he could be a little trolly sometimes, or just like
I think that's fair, yeah.
a little salty and
Tiltable,
yeah,
maybe? Yeah, just a little bit.
sometimes.
I mean,
All
when
right.
I was talking to Langs, like he was all about the final phase. I can't believe it.
That's why I said I had to switch it up on him, man. Final phase,
That rank 24.
phased out.
All right, Toph, it's time for your pick. You are now officially on the clock. Where are you leaning here with the second pick of the draft?
Probably looking at towards the left side, since that's like all the players that caught my eye and the top players that I feel like are really strong. But yeah, no, there's a lot of still good open picks. My eyes are probably looking at the next 3 or 2 players.
I mean, my immediate question is, how terrible is my ranking here? Like, am I just completely
Yeah, no.
way off the mark? Or
No, I think like all these players have been on like professional organizations and they have their competitive experience, and I believe that they're all really skilled, and yeah, no, I like them as players, and yeah, it's really hard to decide who I want to choose as my first pick. Like,
all right, we'll give you a minute to ponder that one. Let's take a look at the stats though for starting all over. The very first pick of the draft. Now he got the rank 1 coming on into this one. A lot down to how well he performed in the Summer Open.
Yeah, he was definitely the hard carry for his team. Obviously, as mentioned, Truth of Light was another one of the strong players of it, but starting over was the name. He was the go-to player, and when you needed someone to step up for Nova, it was starting all over that got kind of put into that role.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see the Maleen, his most played hero, was absolutely a standout pick for him across the course of the Summer Open. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that coming in here in the Vainglory Fantasy All-Stars. But we'll have to wait and see. A lot of that is going to be down to Starboy, whether he lets him play that mid lane. We'll have to see. Starboy, how vicious are you going to be as a captain here, Starboy? Are you going to allow players to have a say, or are you just going to rule with an iron fist?
I mean, it depends. If I pick up a better player than starting, I might have to sub him out, so we'll see.
Okay, we'll have to see if StarTech does get subbed out. You can see starting all over, the only pick to be taken out so far. But we'll have to see where this one's going to move now, as Lost Boy Toph is pondering his pick currently and trying to figure out where to go with this one. Definitely those top few picks are leading the charge right now, but you've got just less than 2 minutes remaining, Toph. How are you feeling on this pick? Where are you leaning towards?
Okay, so I'm looking around like 3 names right now. I'm looking at Chuck, Truth of Light, and Hammy. I'm also thinking about like how I'm gonna like place them in the position, because if I'm gonna be playing a certain role, I want to try to fit them in a role that they fit best in.
Now, are you also taking into account hero pools that are available to these guys? Because one thing that we haven't actually touched on at all is that Vainglory Update 3.8 just dropped the other day. That's what we're going to be playing on this weekend. So, some of these heroes that were signature picks for players have now been nerfed pretty heavily. So does that factor into your decision at all?
A little bit. I know they could play a certain amount of heroes and pretty much like pretty much all the carries. I just think, I don't know, like the weapon heroes this patch is really.
All right, well, you are starting to run out of time. You've got under a minute, so which way are you leaning here? What's the final pick going to be, my friend?
I think the truth is, I'm going to have to go with Truth of Light.
The truth is the truth.
All right. Final answer?
Yes, final answer.
Last boy Toph, Truth of Light.
All right, so that's the second pick locked on in. So Truth of Light, very strong carry. A little bit surprised that you've prioritized him over Chuck. Is there some logic behind that? I'm not to flame Truth or anything like that, but.
Yeah, no, I think Chuck is a great player. We've played numerous times, and I feel like the current role I'm trying to think that I'm going to be playing probably either mid or captain, and I feel like Chuck has been playing mid a lot recently, so I think I'm going with Truth.
Not only that, but again, 2 Nova teammates just recently won the VPL Summer Open, so makes a little bit of sense for both of them to go off the board right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up is going to be Xenotech's pick. So you are now on the clock, Xenotech. Talk to me a little bit here. Where are you looking on this ranking?
All right, we're bouncing all over the place from the right side to the left side, but I think I got to stick with the left side here. Obviously, Chuck is at the top of the list. Hammy's amazing. Di-Fi, it's amazing. PvP Warrior has proven himself as an amazing bottom laner or weapon power carry, and as Toph said, like this patch is dominated by the weapon power. So he might be actually a really amazing pick since Truth of Light is now gone. But, also the ninjas, like.
Yeah, man. Raphael,
tell me
Shredder, and
about them.
Leonardo.
They're pretty amazing. But
Heroes in a half
let me
shell.
hear your thoughts on them.
My thoughts on them, I mean, they managed to get top 8, I believe, in the Summer Open. They did a pretty decent job. They weren't quite, their team wasn't quite at the top tier of like your Visions and your Tribes and your Novas, but they definitely showed that they had a lot of potential. So I'm actually excited to see what those guys are going to be able to do in this tournament outside of a team setting. But let's revisit the fact that the first 2 picks so far have both been Nova Esports players. And we can take a look at our Razor replay of Nova Esports actually during the Summer Open, managing to take that final against Tribe.
Yeah, and this is maybe a little bittersweet for one of our captains on the table having to see this, but again, they were just such a strong team. They really impressed a lot of people, more so than, everyone knew that they were a good team, but they were able to show that they were a great team coming into the Summer Open. And again, having 2 of them taken off the board early makes a lot of sense, and it'll be a lot of fun to now see them going against each other, starting all over versus Truth of Light instead of starting all over with Truth of Light.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Truth of Light stats there, 70% win rate in solo queue. And obviously, he has Vox there as his most played in solo queue, but there are very few weapon power carries that haven't played an absolute ton of Vox. When you think about Vox, there's a guy over on the table just there that I've never seen someone play Vox quite as well as Old School does. Do you think that, I'm going to straight up ask, do you think you're the best Vox player?
I definitely do.
Yeah? What sets you apart from the crowd?
Set me apart. I think it's just the experience on the hero. Like, I've been playing them like ever since it came out back in like 2015, so just have a lot of experience on Vox.
Now, with you being a carry player, did you expect to have starting all over in Truth already taken off the board before you got to your first pick? Or mind having them taken off the board because you are a carry? So are you kind of deprioritizing other carry players a little bit?
I think that it's okay to have multiple carries on your team. A lot of the carry players are a little bit flexible because like since they're hero pools, like they can like stay the same like in whichever role that they find themselves in. So I don't think that having too many carry players on your team is going to be too big of an issue.
All right, you can never have too many carries. I think that is a very carry mentality right there. Let's check back in with Xenotech. You've got less than 2 minutes now on the clock. Have you managed to narrow that list anymore?
I'm just straight sweating right now. Can't decide, and it's absolutely insane in my mind right now. But to really put it into perspective, it's between Chuck, the Hammy, and the final phase. But I don't know. I just can't put a marker. I'm freaking out, man.
I find it kind of interesting that, you know, on these lists, no one's really talking about Max Green too much because captain is a very important role, I feel, in 5v5. And you look at the list and you have Max Green stands out as a captain. You have to go a little bit further down the list before you find any other player that mains the captain role. And so for me personally, like that's something that I would almost want to grab early on because the difference in the top level captain available versus the next one is much higher than, you know, the top captain. But Xenotech, I got it. You narrowed it down a little bit. I threw a little wrench in there. We're gonna have to get a pick though.
You did, and I just have to take this player away because Old School's a teammate with him. Gotta take Chuck.
All right.
All right, Xenotech's taking Chuck as his first pick.
All right, so best Chuck NA taken off of the board, and Old School is going to be weeping off on the side there on the back of that one. I mean, Old School, was that immediately your first pick taken now?
Probably, but I don't think it's much of a surprise, to be honest. Like, I didn't really expect to have like the first 3 picks like being able to be chosen because I am the last pick, so it's kind of understandable.
Yeah. I mean, this is, obviously, this is a snake draft as well. So Old School now, you will be jumping on into the timer. You'll be up next. But Old School is going to get 2 picks back to back, and then we'll move back along the table. So everyone gets the fair. If you've ever played fantasy football, you'll understand the kind of way that this rocks on through. It's called a snake draft. But yeah, so Old School is going to be up next. He's now on the timer. What are your immediate thoughts here? Where are you looking towards?
I'm actually looking towards the left side along with the middle because I do see a lot of the players on Vision Gaming that are currently teammates. So I'm probably going to be thinking of picking up 2 people that are actually on the same team already.
All right, we'll have
to build that synergy early on.
I think that's going to be important in this tournament as well because let's bear in mind, this is going to be an amalgamation of players. So anyone that's been ex-teammates or anyone that's current teammates, that's going to be a big advantage. Let's take a little bit of a look at some of our statistics, though, for Chuck. He was the most recent pick, and he's definitely a strong contender stepping on into the tournament. Solo queue win rate of 83%. That is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, you know, these guys, a little bit of questioning on it. You know, how much of that is actually solo queue versus
like
queuing up with friends. But either way, even if you're team queued the whole time, that's still a very impressive win rate.
I mean, you're rolling like tier 7s and 3-man.
All right, so straight flame towards Chuck there. But yeah, we'll see what he's going to play as well. Because interestingly, his most played was Adagio, which is not a pick that when I think of Chuck, I don't immediately think of Adagio. That's not my go-to for Chuck.
Yeah, it was definitely, it kind of felt like more towards the meta. Chuck is this very consistent, but somewhat conservative lane player. Yeah. And that's why I wasn't surprised that, you know, Truth of Light was taken before Chuck by Lost Fight, because in an event like this, you want those big playmakers. You want the flashy plays. You want the guys that are going to stand out. And while Chuck is extremely consistent and will give you that top-level performance every single time, he's not going to be the one that goes out and makes the, you know, the 1v2s, the 1v3 sorts of plays.
Yeah, he's kind of the pillar that you would build a team around, not necessarily. I mean, I would say Chuck and Starting All Over are almost opposite styles of mid lane, because Starting All Over is the kind of guy that will go for a solo play. He will look to outplay someone individually, whereas Chuck definitely much more of that laid back, much more, or not laid back, but more conservative style, as you worded it. But let's check in once again here with Old School. How are you feeling about this pick so far? You got about 2 minutes on the clock. What are you leaning towards here?
I'm leaning towards, I think, actually number 4, Hammy.
All right, so can't lock it in just yet, but Hammy definitely above the crowd on this one. Is there any consideration of some of the guys in the middle row? That's kind of the row we've not really talked about much, but we've got guys like Shaded Talent, Neonfire, Gatsby. These guys are all, they've been around the pro scene a little bit, you know, they've been on these big major teams. Are they considerations at this stage, or do you've just got to go for those top 8 first?
I think they definitely are a consideration. I don't think there's too big of a skill gap between the bottom of the left side and towards like the top end of the middle.
And also, again, you know, like Joe mentioned earlier, with the snake draft, you have 2 picks back to back. So obviously you'll get the time to lock in this one, and then you have a few more minutes to kind of figure out what you want to do with your second pick. Does knowing that you have those 2 picks back to back, does that kind of influence where your thinking goes with what you want to grab for your team?
Yeah, like I said, I lean towards picking 2 players that are already on the same team. So being able to pick them consecutively is gonna make that possible.
All right, as you can see, the players that have been locked in so far were on your screen. It's just the top 3 so far. It's been pretty much as the rankings would suggest. But Old School, you are now under a minute on this first pick. I believe I already know your answer, but what are you going to lock in for this one?
I'm going to lock in Hammy.
All right, Old School's taking Hammy.
All right, so
Yep.
there it is. Hammy locked in as our 4th and final pick of the first round, which means the second round of drafting will begin. Old School going to be kicking that one off once again, as it's going to be snake draft. So now we go through the same players in the reverse order. So Old School, you are on the clock once more. Are we still just sticking to the top players? Because now there's a spanner in the works here a little bit. Max Green is the next player. Phenomenal player in his own right. He is a captain, though. He is a support player. Does that come into as a factor? Would you prioritize a captain, or are you going to continue prioritizing carries?
I have to think about it.
Well, thankfully, you do have a few minutes to think about that. And again, you mentioned that you want to get 2 players on the same team. You could end up looking for someone like PvP Warrior, TiVo, Shaded Talent, or Max Green still gives him 2 players on the same team, as they are both tribe players. So either way, the strategy of keeping the team synergies alive is still there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to remind you guys at home as well, we have giveaways going on in the chat across the course of today. There's one going on right now. This one is for one of our Vainglory plushies. I believe it's either a scarf or a minion plushie, depending on how lucky you get. So make sure you get involved in the chat. I want to say exclamation point giveaway. Don't hold me to that. Just take a look at the chat. I'm sure everyone's spamming it right about now. So that's going to be going on. Make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that. But we are looking at a very straight, normal draft so far across the course of this one. We've had... the plushie giveaway is happening right now in the chat. But let's talk a little bit about these picks, because we've had the top 4 taken off the board already in exactly the right order. Well, Truth or Light got picked before Chuck, but our top 4 have been our first 4 picks. Yep. What do you make of that, Bacon?
I mean, I don't think it's too surprising at all. All 4 of those are carries. And so if once one person grabs a carry, you want to make sure you get yourself the carries as well, so that you don't end up with, without having that star player that you're going to be getting onto your team. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, all of them are very confident players as well. Like I said, of those, Chuck is the only one that's not a flashy, doesn't want to be necessarily the one making the plays and securing the game for his team. Obviously, he wants to be.
I think it was to secure the game.
But I mean, like, he doesn't want to be the one diving in and like having if the team does start to fall behind. Chuck isn't necessarily the one that's going to be the player that turns it around for the team. He wants to get the team a lead early and keep the lead, whereas the other 3 players I think are all very much willing to go out on a limb and make that risky play when they feel it's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to remind you guys as well, our top picks so far have been those first 4. You can see it there on the board. And we'll see whether these guys are going to start to move across the rest of the rows at all, or I mean, I'm happy with this so far because I made the rankings. So if it just goes in order, then I just look great. So, I mean, guys, where are you thinking next? Are you just going to be sticking to the ranking as it looks, or are we going to be moving into the other rows?
I think we're sleeping on X1P9X because he hasn't even been
Zipnix.
brought up.
Zipnix.
So, yeah,
Zipnix. He's named after a CSGO player. There's a pro CSGO player called Zipnix.
Well, if he's a pro in another game, I mean, right off the bat, I don't know why we're not talking about him more. I don't know if even considered him school, but you should definitely peep that.
I mean,
Solid strategy.
I'm gonna go on a limb here and suggest that it might not be the Zipnix.
I mean, you don't
from
know
CSGO.
that.
I don't know that. I'm going out on a limb a little bit, but it feels. I mean, he is a pro gamer, so maybe that is the destiny. I mean, what are your thoughts, old school? Do you reckon Zipnix is the next pick?
Not too sure about that.
All right, well, we'll have to see where he does go with that one, but there's just about a minute left on the clock. Old school, it's about time that we get your pick locked in here. Where are you going with this one?
I think I'm going to go with Shaded Talent.
Shaded Talent, all right, number 10 on the list.
All right, second pick for old school Shaded Talent.
All right, so interesting pick going out there. Obviously, Vision Gaming representative Shaded Talent.
Yeah, taking the captain from Vision Gaming over his own teammate captain. See if that causes some tension, perhaps within Tribe. You know, they've got some other stuff going on. But why Shaded Talent over Max Green?
I think it's mostly because I already picked Hammy, and I know that Hammy and Shaded Talent play together, so why not?
All right, so it's more of just you're confident in your own abilities. You don't need to necessarily have your own teammate. You want to make sure that your other teammates have people that they can synergize well with.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so going to be Shaded Talent locked in, and we'll see if that's going to pay dividends when they get on to Sovereign's Rise. But certainly interesting to see number 10 coming on through. Let's take a look at some of the statistics, though, for Shaded Talent, as he's going to be jumping on into the tournament. Very early pick, 5th pick of the entire draft. And, you know, Shaded Talent actually had an incredibly good performance during the summer open. Vision Gaming managing to get top 4. Didn't quite go the whole distance. A lot of people were touting them as the favorites at the time, though.
Yeah, I mean, Shaded Talent was also one of those players that was on TSM during the preseason, and that was where a lot of like this hype around this Vision Gaming squad came from, was from that preseason performance that he was able to put up. But you know, once they split up that team, all of a sudden the performance wasn't quite up to par for what they were expecting. So maybe there is a little bit of, you know, that next level analysis of for old school going for those teammates, trying to get them back together. Because keep in mind, it was Hamby and Shaded Talent that were together in that preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, Xenotech, you are going to be on the clock once again as we move through our Snake Draft. Now, obviously, yourself being a jungler and you're locked in a mid laner, where are you going next role-wise with this pick?
So for me, like, I can play anything. So I'm looking more to build the best team that synergizes well together. High playmaking potential. Obviously, the top 4 got taken away, so that's a lot of the playmakers, like Sao starting all over, Truthlight, Hammy, like they're all really crazy gamers. And so I'm looking for that next playmaker. There's a lot in this pool right now, so you know, I just can't decide between the left side or the right side. The middle's kind of iffy.
I mean, on the right-hand side, there is one player who's fairly well known. Number 17 is Outplayed, but he actually renamed from Louis Vuitton Don. So some of you guys at home might recognize that game. He's been around the scene a little bit. People know Louis Vuitton. So people are kind of mocking the right-hand side of the rankings a little bit, but there is some strong talent in there.
Yeah, I mean, these are still the top players of, you know, from the pool that signed up. Not everyone got accepted, so there are definitely some players that are going to be surprises. You know, maybe we talked about this all the time in the Summer Open of these could be the next wave of players. That could be what we have here as well.
Okay, well, we'll see. That's going to be 5 picks locked on in. Obviously, number 10 was taken off the board. Gentlemen, I want to get kind of a group opinion here. Toph, we'll start with you. Where are you looking next for the next few picks? Because obviously we've got Max Marine and Delphi and PvP Warrior and TiVo still remaining on the far left in that first column. Are you starting to look towards the other roles, though? Are you starting to look towards this middle and left and right-hand column?
I am thinking a little ahead because I kind of sort of have an idea of what I want for my team. But yeah, like there's still like 4 more picks on the left side, and I'm also thinking of choosing from either the middle or left or right side. But yeah, like I'm probably thinking of choosing a player that I've like played with a lot recently, like in ranked, and yeah. Like,
Doesn't want to give
So,
too much
yeah,
away.
not trying to give away shots right
knowing
now.
that someone's picking right now before him.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to give away too much. But one thing I want to know is, obviously, Xenotech just mentioned that he's confident playing any role. How about the rest of you guys? Do you guys have already in your mind what role you're going to be playing? And are you drafting around that, or are you staying flexible as well?
Well, I think you can have a good idea of what you want to play, but based off of how the draft goes, you're not going to get everybody that you want on your roster. So obviously, you do kind of have to be flexible. Ideally, you have the exact number of players that you want. You get to pick them. You get to play the role that you want, but other people are going to take your picks. So you got to be kind of flexible. Given how much time I personally put in practicing for this, I think I'd be comfortable in any role.
All right, we'll see if that's going to be the case. And I'm curious to see, once these teams are fully locked in, what those roles are going to look like for everyone. But we have a minute left on the clock. Xenotech, it's about time we lock in your second pick. What are you leaning towards here?
So, you know, I think all these players are absolutely amazing, but I gotta go with the mechanical genius PvP Warrior.
PvP Warrior. So another Vision player locked in.
All right, second pick for Xenotech, PvP Warrior.
There it is. So our 6th pick of the draft locked in, second for Xenotech. It's going to be PvP Warrior, which means Lost Boy Toph is now on the clock once again. Where are you leaning? I mean, we already asked you just a minute ago what you were leaning towards. You were very hesitant to give us any real answers. Now that you're on the clock and Xenotech can't snipe away your picks, what are you thinking?
all right, well, I'm probably gonna need another carry, so yeah, I just need someone to fill that one other carry role. But yeah, I mean, there's still people on the left and middle column. Munchables, do you think, like, is there like any other carries that we should
Why is
know or
everyone
pick?
asking me for my pick?
You have all the
There is
stats,
an
you have all the
analyst sat
info.
right here next to me. I'm the host. I made the
You
rankings.
did make the
It was
rankings.
based on their tournament performances and on
You
ELO.
did the research, so I'm gonna trust in you to help me out here.
I'm
a
going to
little
defer
bit.
to Bacon on this one. I'm going to defer to you on this one, Bacon. Who are the carries to be looking out for here?
Let's go,
So
Bacon.
it depends on where you want the carry to come from. If you want it to be in the lane, I think TiVo is the best carry left on the board at the moment. He's has been able to play mid lane for Vision a bit, and I know in some of their other qualifying tournaments that they've been playing in, he's actually been filling that carry role a bit for them. But if you want to go for the big playmaker, I think the best playmaker on the table right now is actually Delphi. Coming out of the jungle, I think that's going to be a very strong pick for whoever does get their hands onto that jungler. He's been, I think, underrated for a vast majority of his career. Just recently has kind of started to come into the limelight as being one of the top junglers. But then, obviously, if you're looking for just overall playmaking, Max Green is a great choice too, but obviously not a carry if you're looking for that role. So I would say if you wanted the best carry right now, the TiVo should probably be the pick.
All right, speaking of carries as well, we can take a look at PvP Warriors stats. This guy definitely showed his stuff during the Summer Open on the side of Vision Gaming. Xenotech, is this a guy that you've played with a lot? Is it someone that you've kind of admired from afar in previous tournaments? What was it that led you towards this pick?
I mean, PvP Warrior, I played so much against him and have played a lot with him and just have really, I understand his play style quite a bit, and he brings a dynamic that's very close to starting all over, Truth Alike. He's very willing to go for the one-person play that changes the whole game, and like that's what I'm looking for.
All right, playing to win, not playing to not lose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, however, one of those situations of that the familiarity kind of trumping recent performances, because in the Summer Open, you know, I love PvP Warrior. I think he's a great player, but in the Summer Open, these last couple games didn't do that well. Was actually losing lane 1v1 against Catherine and things like that. So it was really, really shaky play. It was not the PvP Warrior that we expected.
Well, you have to remember that it is a new patch. So like a lot of those picks from last patch aren't going to be as viable. Those super hyper tanky characters just aren't around anymore. Like they're still there, but like they get melted in the front line now. So I think that in this meta, PvP Warrior is going to definitely shine a little bit better.
That's one thing I'm wondering about as well with the new meta is some of these solo queue superstar players actually could have a bit of an edge in that, you know, they, especially like Maurice the Beast, plays a lot of solo queue. That's the reason he's at the top of the ladder, right? He's surely going to have been playing a lot more of the patch than maybe some of these other players. I mean, Toph, what are you thinking right now in terms of picks?
Let's see. I know Bacon, he is pointing towards TiVo. Like, I think he's a great player and all. But I think I'm gonna have to, like, since I have Truth, I know he's buddies with this person, and yeah, I'm gonna.
You're under a minute, so if you're heavily leaning on someone, you can lock that in.
I think I have my eye on someone, but I'm gonna have to go with Di-Fi. I mean Delphi.
Low Delphi.
Delphi, where's Delphi?
I know he's good friends with Truth. So.
We just gotta find him on the board. There he is.
There you go, second round pick, Delphi.
All right. Correct. That is Delphi. For anyone out of the loop, his name is spelled with a capital I in game because Delphi was taken. So, Starboy, you are now on the clock. But Lost Boy Toph, talk to me about this Delphi pick. Obviously, incredibly strong jungler, was the MVP during the Summer Open. Is it just down to that for the pick, or the fact that, you know, Truth and him are teammates?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're both teammates and buddies, and I think Delphi, like, he can make a lot of good plays in jungle, and I think I need that aggression definitely for this patch. If I'm trying to get fed or something, like I think I could trust him in like helping me out and like being aggressive and I don't know, feeding me.
I do want to say, you said I was steering you towards TiVo. That was because you asked for a carry. And I did say that Delphi was probably one of the best jungler available.
He
so
was.
To be fair, I did say that Delphi would be a great pick.
Yeah, we're going to see Delphi's stats on the screen right now. And Tony, I think, is the absolute highlight of this board. Delphi on Tony is just devastating. He did so much work during the Summer Open. Just so difficult to deal with the amount of CC and disruption that Tony offers.
Yeah, and while a lot of the tank items were kind of nerfed, there's a lot less armor and shielding available. A lot of the heroes were changed, but Tony was one that didn't really receive too much attention from the nerf bat this time around. So could definitely be a hero that will be focused on once again for Delphi.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how Delphi is going to adapt to the patch as well. I mean, the patch is something that we've not really talked about too much. You guys on the desk, I mean, Starboy, you're someone that's kind of coming back into the game for this tournament. Does the fact that this is a brand new patch give you any kind of advantage, do you think?
Hopefully it levels the playing field a little bit. Yeah, honestly, I was going to go with Delphi just because we're like former teammates. I played with Starting on a team briefly as well. It was going to round it out nice, but
Had to ruin it.
I don't honestly know who else jungles on this list, so I don't know. But hopefully, like you said, just because it is a new patch, a lot of people are still getting used to it. So I probably have the same amount of play time on the new patch that a lot of other people do.
All right, so you're feeling confident coming into the new patch. Definitely, I think I agree that it's going to kind of level the playing field just a little bit. We'll have to see how that's going to pan out. I mean, Bacon, they were asking about junglers. Is there anyone that jumps out on this list in terms of jungling? Or because we're starting to thin out on the actual pro players remaining.
Yeah, I would look for, actually Neon Fire is a player that I think really impressed me. He was playing in the lane in the Summer Open, but was very, very impressive. And I know he is one of those more flexible players that can swap into multiple roles. You know, historically, you know, you go way back, Neon Fire was kind of one of those afterthoughts in terms of, you know, who is top players. But with the way that he's been playing recently, he is definitely climbing those ranks quickly.
All right, we'll see if Neon Fire is going to be picked. Right now, so far, he's still stood against the wall waiting for his opportunity to shine. But we'll have to see. I definitely expect him to be one of the high priority picks, though. We'll have to see which player is going to be able to pick him up, though. We are starting to get closer for you now, Starboy. What role are you leaning towards here? Obviously, Delphi got taken off the board. We were mentioning jungle. Is there anyone else that's jumping at you right now?
I wouldn't say there's any names like particularly sticking out. Probably, honestly, just because I honestly don't know who else jungles other than Neon. I know Neon jungles. There's a couple of other people who could jungle. I mean, it's kind of a brain dead role because you could just pick any hero. The rotations in jungle, you clear, you go to lane, you gank, that's it. So you could, if I would have gotten Chuck, I would have put him in jungle. As far as the rest of the players, I don't know who else can do it, but it is kind of more flexible, so I don't think I'm too pressed to find a jungler immediately here.
All right, jungle is too easy. Direct quote from Starboy there. You are into your last minute of picking here, Starboy. What are you thinking right now?
Just because I am not too pressed for the jungle, like I said, I think I'm going to go with Outplayed XD, my boy Louis.
Outplayed XD. All right, second pick for Starboy. Outplayed XD. And
All
we
right.
get another one now.
So Louis Vuitton Dawn or Outplayed is going to be locked on in there, which means, first of all, Starboy, you're going to be back on the clock once again, as it is that snake draft. It's your turn once more. But we now have 2 picks locked in for each of our players. So, gentlemen on the table there, who do you feel is winning this draft so far? Has anyone got a major advantage in your opinions? Old School, we'll start with you.
I'm a little bit hesitant. I mean, I'm a little bit nervous because I know that Starboy still has another pick right now, and then there's also going to be 2 more until I get my double pick. So I think a lot of the major talent is going to be taken away by the time I have my pick.
Are you happy with the 2 that you got?
I definitely am happy with the 2 that I got. And looking at the standings, just like from where they are right now, I do think that they're pretty balanced. I don't think any team has a major advantage just from the initial picks. But moving on to the draft, I'm trying to think about like just who like is going to get taken away and who I'm going to be left with.
So now, if not being able to say yourself, of the other 3 teams that are up there, there's 3 players for each one right now. Which of those 3 would you say is the better? If you had to pick one and you can't pick your own team, which one would you say is currently the best?
I would most likely say Lost White Tops team.
All right, Tough taking the lead.
I was
Xenotech,
a
what do
little
you think?
surprised at that one. Curious to see what everyone else. Let's just go down the line and just say, like, Xenotech, not being able to choose your own, which of those 3?
I would say top right now because the team synergy between Truth and Delphi is really high.
Right? Lost Boy?
I'm going to have to choose myself.
That's literally one of the rules. You can't choose yourself.
Probably Xeno.
Okay, Chuck and PvP Warrior. Starboy, who do you think's winning out of the draft so far?
Yeah, no, Truth and Delphi is really good. I wanted Delphi, but nah, those 2 are definitely the best together so far.
All right, let's take another look at who is still available as we head into the 3rd round of picks here. We can have a glance at our board. We're starting to get through the picks now. There are 8 players taken off the board, only 2 remaining in the top 8, Max Green and TiVo. And let's just take a moment here to appreciate the fact that Max Green actually hasn't been picked up yet. Max Green is an incredibly good player. I'm kind of baffled that we've not had Max Green taken away.
Yeah, I think the only reason for that is just that the captains are not prioritizing the captain role in game. That's really the only reason I could think of for why Max Green wouldn't be taken off the board yet. Although Shaded Talent was picked up, who is also a captain. But again, Old School did have very good reasoning for that, knowing that he wants to get his teammates to have that synergy already established. So it'll be interesting to see when Max Green does get taken off the board. I think it would actually be a very good pick to grab, like, within the next pick or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to remind you guys as well at home, we have giveaways going on across the course of today, and there is one happening right now in the Twitch chat. Make sure you get involved. There is a $100 gift card available up for grabs. That's going to be given away over the next few minutes. So make sure that you are getting involved and getting into that competition for your chance to win $100. But we're jumping back on into our draft here, and it's going to be Starboy on his third round. And he's starting to run out of time.
For the record, I saw a couple phones come out here. I don't think any of you are eligible to win that gift card. Just for the
I'm
record.
contacting players.
Stay out of that chat. You guys already have prizes that you could win. Well, you guys actually have to compete for your prizes, though. So, Starboy, you're starting to get fairly low on time here, about a minute and a half left. Obviously, we talked about roles a little bit. We talked about how, Delphi was taken away from you there. Is there a player, aside from Neon Fire, that maybe is standing out? Is there anyone on the right, maybe? Like one of these solo queue players could have an advantage on this patch?
No.
All right, then. That's me absolutely told.
No, I've got a good idea. I was messaging somebody. I think I know who I'm going to be able to put together here. I've got a pretty good idea for the rest of the roster, too. I am going to go just to... There's one other play that I might do. I think I can save him for another pick. I don't think they'll get picked up. I'm going to go with Max.
Max Green. Okay, so the captain locked in finally.
All right, Max Green is taken by Starboy.
All right, so third pick for Starboy. They're going to be Max Green, which means Lost Boy Toff, you are once again on the clock. But Starboy, talk to me about this Max Green pick, because you were talking about jungle, we were talking about the different roles and things. We finally getting these captains locked in. The only other person who's locked in a captain in this draft has been Old School so far. What was the thought process to lock him in?
Well, Max Green is really versatile. I've played with him probably more than anybody else on this list, except for maybe Delphi. He's the player that I've played most recently with, so probably one of the ones that I'm more comfortable with on comms. He's just really good all around. Like, you can put him pretty much anywhere. He's super versatile. Everyone knows this. I'm surprised he wasn't picked until now, but honestly, these three players is pretty strong.
All right, well, we do have some stats from Max Green as well on the screen right now. Very, very strong captain player. In solo queue, obviously his stats are going to be a little bit skewed. He very likely plays carries in solo queue as well. Like you were saying, very versatile player, not someone that can only play that captain role.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and again, his mechanics are some of the best in the game. Is right up there with being able to time his reflex blocks in the crucibles and knowing when to go in with his engagements.
Yeah, we have our Razor Rewind on the screen as well. This was Tribe during the final against Nova, managing to get so close to winning the game. And a lot of that was on the back of Max Green's play. But we'll have to see how he's going to be able to perform across the course of this tournament as well. It was Nova that managed to take the tournament in the end. Sorry, Old School, to show clips of
repeatedly showing these clips.
I feel like I'm stabbing you in the back, but definitely excited to see how Max Green's gonna do. Do you feel like since Summer Open, the teams have changed in power levels here? Do you feel like any players have stepped up or stepped down comparatively to then?
I mean, the Nova players aren't even on the same team anymore. So, like, I definitely think that it's been shifted, so, yeah.
All right, so a few players swapping around in priority here. Lost Boy Toff, it's your pick currently. How are you thinking about this list right now? Because we're starting to get low on those high priority picks.
All right, well, hold on. I gotta look at my notes real quick.
I can see this is a well thought out decision.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about it. I kind of expected Starboy would pick Max Green because he is definitely a versatile player. But Tasty, so I'm looking for a support player. Is there anyone that stands out?
I love how you're just like literally enlisting the help to try and get your draft done
no, I
for
need
you.
a little bit of help here, but like, I kind of have an idea of who I want next, but I just want your opinion on whoever's left on this list. Like, is there anyone as a support or captain? Is there anyone that stands out?
Or captain?
I know it's a little bit harder since they're just like pretty much all the top players are like taken. So
yeah, the
no
two best
pressure.
captains I think were Max Green and Shaded Talent. They're both off the board. If you're specifically looking for a captain, I think Neon Fire or Maurice the Beast might be the way to go here. again, two players that are both very versatile and can play multiple roles, and that's always important. We talk about it in the when you're in-game draft, you want to get those versatile picks right away as well. So maybe that same mentality could come into the player draft as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In a tournament like this, versatility is going to be key. I want to remind you guys at home, we have giveaways going on across the entirety of this tournament. There's one happening in chat right now for a $100 gift card. This is the Watch and Win Fantasy All-Stars. So make sure that you are checking out the chat throughout this tournament, not just today, not just tomorrow, each and every weekend of the tournament. We're going to have a whole bunch of gift cards to give away. We have 100,000 ice to give away across the course of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars. We also have a whole bunch of Vainglory swag. We've got plushies, t-shirts, and stickers all coming in a Vainglory bag. So make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for those giveaways, because that's going to be what you need to watch out for. But we are under a minute now. Lost Boy Toff, it's about time that we get your pick locked in.
Yeah, so this guy has been bugging me a lot before this whole thing started. But yeah, no, I played with him many times in ranked. And it's probably going to throw a lot of you off, but I'm going to have to go with Deceived One.
Deceived One, okay, number 18.
Deceived One.
That was my pick.
Also according to plan.
Third pick for Lost Boy Toff is Deceived One.
All right, so third one locked in. Xenotech, you looked a little bit devastated. You are now on the clock once again, but talk to me about that pick from Toff there.
Yeah, so Deceived One, like, nobody really knows him, but he's actually an insanely good support player that none of these players know of, so I didn't expect him to be picked yet. And I was hoping to get that in as my, like, secret fourth pick, but kind of unfortunate.
I know you know him
Tough to
too.
get to it.
So that actually, like, throws a big wrench in the works.
Okay.
Right now.
All right, well, while you ponder that one, Toff, talk to me through this Deceived One pick. Like, what do we know about this player? Like, what is it that makes him stand out as an individual?
He's actually kind of like an old player. I think he kind of took a little break, but recently just came back. Yeah, no, I've been playing with him like on my streams and like all the time. So I think he would be a good fit for playing a captain. Like he's been messaging me a lot. So, and I trust in him. I believe in him. So I'm hoping he doesn't troll me or lag or anything like that. So.
All right, so getting those DMs in, trying to just slide into the competition.
About to message him right now.
Yeah.
I got you.
I love that we have like the messages going on the table. People trying to draft their super squads. I love it. Let's have a bit of a reset here and figure out where we are in the draft so far. We've had a whole bunch of picks come on through. We have had 10 picks now, which means we are halfway through our draft. Let's take a look at who is still remaining available. We've had 2 picks coming out of the bottom 8 players, so kind of surprising to see how early they've been picked up. We've got one out of the middle column, and then TiVo still available in our top 8, but generally speaking, most of them coming out of the top sector. Old School, talk to me a little bit about who's remaining on the list here, because we've had a lot of the big names taken out. Is there anyone that maybe in this middle row, for example, that is really standing out from the crowd?
I'm thinking actually Gatsby from the middle row as a standout pick. I think Tsuki as well.
Why those 2 picks?
I was
What makes them
expecting
stand
to
out?
start like list off the entire list and just be like, all right, you guys, you just pick these guys. Leave me TiVo. Leave me Neon Fire. You guys go ahead and pick everyone else.
Sorry, I just think out of the players left in the middle column, or just like in general, they're probably like on the higher, or like the top players left.
Mm-hmm. How much does competitive experience factor into a tournament like this for you guys? Because now we're starting to get into the realms of your solo queue players and people that have been seen a little bit but don't have a wealth of experience. Once you get to those kind of players, is it more about how you've played with them in solo queue and what you've gleaned from those games, or is it more about how much you've seen them on streams and things like that?
It's a combination, definitely, but competitive experience helps a lot, because even if you have somebody who's really good in rank, they'll come to a tournament or they'll play online in a tournament and they'll be a totally different player, because nerves are a huge factor, actually.
All right, so we think nerves will be a big factor in this tournament. I'm
Definitely.
curious how, like, are all 4 of you going to be kind of shot calling here to try and control these players? Like, how much of an issue do you think that's going to be? How, like, synergy and nerves and getting these players to coordinate as a squad?
It's going to be tough. I mean, as long as you know the players, I'm pretty sure most of us know most of these players, at least the players that we've already picked. We know of them and we've played with them before, we've talked with them. So the synergy thing, I mean, obviously you're not going to be up to a pro team level immediately of like 5 hours of practice a day, but no, absolutely. I mean, we should be comfortable with most of the picks that we have.
Now, you talked about the kind of synergy aspect. You know, there's those 3 ninjas on the board. Those guys obviously play together all the time, so they have that synergy already built in. Is that something that anyone's thinking about?
You know why they haven't been picked up? Is because if you pick one, you can't pick all 3. What if somebody else gets one? Then you're stuck with only one of the ninjas.
That's true.
Fair point.
That is very true.
That's the problem.
I mean, you've got to a point where you can't pick all 3 ninjas anymore anyway, so you've only got 2 picks left. Xenotech, though, we are under a minute at this stage, so it's about time that we get that pick locked in. What are you thinking?
All right, so since everybody picked their supports, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I already know who I want for my support role. I'm going to go for my carry role, finish that out with TiVo.
All right, so the last of our top 8.
All right, we got TiVo playing the carry role for Xenotech.
All right, so TiVo going to be locked in. That is that 3rd pick there for Xenotech, which means Old School, you are once again on the clock. It is going to be your pick coming up next. But that will be the last pick of round 3. But Xenotech, talk to me about this TiVo pick. Obviously a player for Vision, very strong player individually. Is there any specific reasons why you've gone for him over the rest of the pool?
So like, I was really debating between Neon Fire and Gatsby and TiVo. I love all 3 of these players. And there's actually a lot of players on the right side that I was debating on as well. Why I picked TiVo here is because he's teammates with PvP. They've played a lot together. They have a lot of synergy. And then I think they'll complement Chuck a lot in the mid lane on those 2 side lanes. And I think they'll be able to bring it home.
All right, so definitely going for that team synergy style build. You can see the player boards right now. We have our entire left column, our top 8 taken off the table, which means this is going to have to start to get a little bit creative with the rest of the picks. The further into this draft we go, the less experience some of these players are going to be having. And then once we get to the very bottom of the rankings, some of these players have no competitive experience whatsoever, but they want to get their foot in the door, and this could be their debut tournament. We could see some miraculous stuff coming on out. But let's talk a little bit about Old School. It is your pick currently, but let's talk about your history a little bit, because Old School, you're one of the absolute veterans for Vainglory, and you came 3rd place at the World Championship in 2017. Winning out the Unified Championship as well back in London. It feels like a long time ago now. It's only 2017 itself. But do you feel like that is something that is really going to be behind you here, especially with guys like Hammy and Shaded Talent, also very experienced? Like, do you feel like you are the most experienced maybe here, or do you feel like there's competition there?
Out of the 4 captains? Yeah, I do think I do have the most competitive experience out of the 4 captains, but a lot of the players that have already been chosen, they have a huge amount of competitive experience as well. So I don't think I'm going to have too big of an advantage over all the teams as a whole, because I do think there's like a nice mix of like really experienced veterans.
Okay, and that's the thing about this kind of draft, right? Is all of those veterans, all of those super priority picks are going to be spread out across the course of it. I'm curious, what do you guys think of how this has been panning out so far? We've got a few more picks in. Max Green, Deceived One, and TiVo, we're definitely starting to get to the picks where it really depends on your opinions on which direction you go from here. Do we have kind of favorites moving forward? I mean, Starboy, how are you feeling the draft's gone for you so far?
It's pretty good. I think first pick was almost a disadvantage because you have to pass over so many of the top choices. I got starting, which is really good, obviously, but then I have to pass up on so many of the choices, especially my priority choices. But honestly, the team that I have so far and the team that I have in my mind, I think I'm pretty comfortable with, especially Louis and Max. I know that they play together a lot. I played with the 2 of them. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable on comms with all of them. I think it's actually pretty good that I got people that I know personally, because I didn't think that I would be able to get my preference, far as the other teams go, again, Truth and Delphi together is really good. I still don't know who Deceived is, but those two. And then Chuck, PvP, and TiVo used to team. Or I'm not sure if they were all on the team at the same time. They were all in TSM. So they already have experience together too. I don't know what school is gonna go for, but Hammy and Shaded have always been good, so we'll see.
All right, so pretty good recap of all the picks. Appreciate that. But yeah, so
Get Starboy sitting over here.
We can trade places. You can finish the roster for me.
I mean, I don't want to lose you the tournament, and so I'll stay over here for now. I mean, Xenotech, how are you feeling about how your picks have been going? Obviously, you managed to grab TiVo, you got PvP Warrior and Chuck. There is a lot of synergy there. Are you happy with your picks so far?
Oh, I absolutely love my picks. I do think that Chuck has a different playstyle than myself, but I think Chuck has a lot of shot calling potential. And again, with the other two, their playmaking is just insane. And then to fill out the roster later, it's going to be pretty amazing.
Now, obviously, we heard Starboy talk about the fact that he was gonna be, having that synergy. Old school, you're about out of time now. So, are you gonna go for that synergy, or where are you thinking about for your pick?
I think I'm gonna go with Neon Fire.
Neon
All right.
Fire.
Neon Fire's taken for your third pick? Yes,
Yes.
third pick.
All right, and that is going to conclude the third round of picks as well. So that is going to give us a little bit of a breather now. We're going to go to a bit of a half time. So you guys are going to be able to have a minute to get a bit of water, reset yourselves, think about the last two picks, and consider where you're going to go next. And me and Tasty Bacon, we're going to have a bit of a discussion about what's been going on so far, the picks so far, and maybe some of the players that haven't been picked that maybe we prioritize. So let's start with that, Bacon. Are there any guys remaining on the list? Obviously, we kind of have the top 10 taken off the board now, so that's kind of as expected. Are there any in the bottom 14, essentially, that you feel like are strong players that haven't really been picked up?
The one that I think is going to be going off the board very soon is actually Suki. I think Suki's one of the better players left, along with Gatsby as well. But I mean, Gatsby is just outside that top 10, so I'm not really going to count that as like a surprise pick in any stretch. But I think Deceived one going this early was kind of the big surprise that we've had thus far. But we saw both Lost by Toph and Xenotech both would have been loving to get that pick. Obviously, Lost by Toph taking that, and Xenotech said, hey, this is a guy that I've played with. I know that he's a great captain, but not many other people do. So he was hoping he could kind of slip him in a little bit later in the draft.
I love hearing about those secret strategies that some of the players have as well. I mean, we've had a little bit of sarcasm on the desk. It's fair to say, I think Starboy especially, about preparation, about coming on into the event. But there's definitely been a lot of strategizing going on. There's definitely been a lot of thought putting last night.
Starboy was saying he's been preparing for this event for months when it hasn't even been announced for months. So
that's true.
But obviously a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there. But I think definitely they're all going to be taking it very seriously now that we're in the draft. They're saying some things, maybe trying to throw each other off or just to have a little bit of fun with it. But when you look at the draft board, like, those are very serious drafts. There's no joking around with that. No one is just throwing darts at a board to pick their team compositions. They are all striving to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, rightly so. There's $2,000 on the line. And it's winner takes all. Now, just to remind you guys as well, there are going to be 2 more picks remaining for each of our team captains. That is going to leave them with a 6-man roster. The reason for that is so that everyone has a substitute available, just in case something catastrophic happens tomorrow. They will still be able to put on a tournament.
Doesn't get along well with everyone else.
Very
you can
true.
say, hey, you're going to get benched if you don't shape up. So it definitely allows the opportunities to kind of have that little bit of flexibility in your roster, and that's where guys like Neon Fire and TiVo, Shaded Talent, these guys that have experience in other roles, getting picked up kind of lends to that ability to sub someone in and say, oh, hey, maybe this player that we weren't really too sure of is playing out of their mind. We need to get them in there. Yeah. You can sort of swap around your roster, retool things. You're not locked in to say, okay, I have, this guy plays carry, this guy plays jungle, this guy plays support. We want to tool this, this extra pick in, but we can't. I don't want to swap out, like, let's say, just throwing out randomly, let's say iJets turns out to be a phenomenal mid laner. And you don't want to just take out starting all over for that. So you want to be able to rotate, starting over to a carry position, move that carry to the jungle, sit your jungler for a game, things like that.
And that is going to be one of the big factors, is how much role swapping happens, and also it's a lot down to hero pools. Like, some of these guys are going to have huge hero pools, especially the pros. Yes, absolutely, they're going to be able to play pretty much anything in the meta. But especially once we get down to sort of the bottom 4 or 5 picks, these guys come from solo queue, and not everyone in solo queue has a huge hero pool. A lot of people are kind of like one-trick players that will have a hero that they play. So once we get on into drafts at that stage, if that can get scouted out, we could have some players kind of just being taken off the board entirely.
Yeah, and again, that's where you have that substitute to say, okay, they figured out that this player is only playing Sky, and they're going to start banning that away, so now we have to make a swap, because his Sky may be the, above everyone else on the team, but when Sky's taken off the board, maybe now they become the 6th player on the team, so you kind of swap things out as you go for that.
All right, well, if you are enjoying what you're seeing at home, and you want to get involved for the next Vainglory Premier League Fantasy All-Stars, you can already sign up for the next week. Just head over to the Vainglory Esport Twitter, and all the links will be posted there. But make sure you're getting involved in the competition. And if you're not managing to get on into that top 30, if you're not going to be one of the ones getting picked, you can still win at home. This is all watch and win, don't forget. So make sure that you're going to be able to grab that one. Head over to the Vainglory Esport Twitter. All of the links are going to be available there. But let's talk a little bit about the new hero in Vainglory. Now, I know you guys are thinking of Inara, but this is the first time we're going to see Yates in competitive play in this tournament. So let's talk a little bit about Yates as a hero, because coming on in, back in the teas. In fact, let's take a look at the teas for Yates, because this guy was coming in hot.
For generations, our people have run from the churn. But now, with Githian steel, Elkin magic, and Seraphim knowledge, my men and I have obliterated the infested lands, making way for those who will end the cycle of devastation forever. If some old trees must fall, if some beasts swear revenge, well, that is the price to be paid for survival.
All right, we can take a look at his abilities as well. His passive is Devastation Flail, and you've got Wolf's Maw, you've got Overwhelm, and you've got Iron Mandate. I mean, Bacon, what is the general view of Yates right now in the competitive scene?
I mean, I think it really depends on how he's built. A lot of teams are running him as a captain, but that was on the tank meta. That was in update 3.7. It'll be really interesting to see what happens in 3.8. I think there's a lot of potential for Yates to be a split push carry because of that global ultimate, being able to be split pushing down a lane and then say, oh, there's a fight going on over Black Claw, let me just join that immediately. When the enemy team thinks they have a 4v5, all of a sudden now the game has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually did a little bit of research on our team captains and their Yates abilities. Starboy's looking devastated on this one. 0% win rate on Yates for Starboy. Old School leading the charge, 89%. Interestingly, I actually, that was all Blitz for Old School on Yates. We're going to be jumping into the 4th round of the draft after a quick word from our sponsors. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory Premier League Fantasy All-Stars. My name is Munchables. I'm going to be joined by Tasty Bacon. We're joined in the studio. We've got Starboy, we've got Lost Boy Toff, who's very happy about the situation currently. We've got Xenotech, and we've got Old School. And we're going to be jumping on into the 4th round of the draft shortly. But we couldn't be able to do the 4th round of the draft without the wonderful Karina as well stepping on in and helping us out with the draft as well. So thank you very much for joining us, Karina. How's it been going so far over at the draft
It's
board?
pretty exciting. I'm like loving all the cool names and these. I'm jealous of you guys because you guys have these picture things.
Taking my
I want
own.
one.
Yeah, I love the caricatures. Absolutely, they're fantastic, and we'll see if that's going to be able to be their team mascot as they move forward in the tournament. But let's kind of have a bit of a recap of what's happened so far. Bacon, obviously, we've had a lot of the top picks. Now we're moving into round 4 of the draft. Things are going to be changing up here.
Yeah, this is where teams, these captains are going to start really reaching into the players that they know personally. We've already saw that happen with Deceived One coming off the board, and some players are just like, I don't know who that is, whereas others are like, I was actually hoping to get them because I do know who that is. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a few more picks like that. You can see the players remaining.
I love
on
how
screen.
neat this is. It's like perfectly the left and the top taken off. But we do still have a few players remaining here. Out of 24, we've got, 10 players remaining. But let's get a word from our captains. Guys, how do you feel the draft has been going so far across the course of this one? Now that we have 3 picks each. Old School, we'll start with you. You're going to be on the clock next. How do you feel it's been going for you so far?
I think it's been going great for me so far. I've actually already been talking to some of the players that I've drafted to get an idea of like who they're thinking as my last pick, because my next pick is going to be the last one that rounds out the whole team. So.
Okay, we'll have to see where you go with that one. Xenotech, how do you feel things have been going so far for you as well?
I think it's going amazing. I love my roster so far. We're going to fill it out in this next pick. And yeah, I think we have a high chance this weekend.
Nice. Lost Boy Toff, are you comfortable with your Nova and others roster?
Yeah. I think I kind of took away players that some of these captains were thinking of, so I think I kind of changed a little bit.
Delphi, immediately we saw Starboy complain, and then Deceived One, immediately you got Xenotech complaining. So you've been doing a good job of sniping out the picks so far.
I think I'm kind of maybe have a little advantage of what I'm trying to plan out, but decisions are getting harder now. So
quietly confident on this one. And Starboy, how do you feel it's been going for you over on the far side?
I mean, it's all good. I already talked to them, just like School said. We all know each other. We're all good. There's like Louis and Max make plays every time they play. I mean, you've seen the same tournaments I have. They always win their lanes. They always make plays. I'm excited to see what they do. Max, once again, he's versatile, so I think we have an advantage because I could put different players and the other players I'm thinking of as well. You can move them around. I don't think people will know exactly how we're going to place the positions with the players until the actual games tomorrow.
Okay. Do you have any kind of preference on what position you're wanting to play when you get on into the game?
I can't tell you that much.
All right.
That could give away what his final pick's going to be. Come on.
Definitely could. Definitely could.
So, one question I do want to ask you guys, though, and I am aware I may not get the most honest answer out of this, but Old School's on the clock right now. There's 4 people on the team, including himself. Where would you, if you were in Old School's shoes right now, where would you go with this next pick?
Oh, it's a toughie. It's definitely a toughie.
We don't know what he's looking for, so it changes it.
But if you were in that position, if that was the team that you had, what would you be looking for?
I mean, it looks like he's going to be looking for
probably a jungler.
Yeah,
or
jungler
something.
next. So I would assume like looking for one of these carries to swap into that role. So like Gatsby, Tsuki, Jets. I'm not exactly sure what all the ninjas play. I know their primary language is Spanish, so it would be kind of hard to communicate. So I'm not sure.
Okay, no hablo español. I see. Me either, by the way. That's like the one Spanish sentence I know. But we'll have to see if that's going to affect some of these teams. I definitely know of pro teams in the past that have been a bunch of different languages and they get by on pings alone. There was actually a League of Legends team that got into the World Championship that spoke 5 different main languages. So it's possible. That's all I'm saying. It's possible. But I could certainly understand that. Old School, you've got 2 minutes left on the clock. How are you feeling about this pick right now? I know you've been talking to your teammates so far. Have they been giving you much good guidance right now?
They definitely have. They've narrowed it down for me to like mostly like 1 or 2. So I think it won't be too hard of a decision.
Now, the others are thinking that you're looking for a jungler. Are you, in fact, looking for a jungler with this pick?
I can't say. I think I might
It's
already
your
have-
pick. You can't say.
It's
No
a
one
secret.
no one can steal this pick away from you if you are looking for a
Keep it
jungler.
under wraps, dog.
But like, what even? Like, a player can easily like switch into that role, especially like with the incredible talent that I've already drafted. Like, a lot of them maybe can just like go into the jungle really fast.
Okay.
All right. Well, you are under a minute now, Old School. So if you're confident in what you're going to go for next, it's about time we lock in your pick.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Gatsby.
All
All
right,
right.
Gatsby.
I think that's a fairly reasonable pick there.
Old School adds Gatsby to his team. That's his 4th pick.
All right, so the first pick of the 4th round there for Old School, which means Xenotech is now going to be on the clock next. So get thinking about your pick. But Old School, I want to revisit that conversation there. Why Gatsby over the other players?
I just think that he edges out over the rest of the options left. I actually already talked to Hammy, and he told me that he thinks that the next best option is Gatsby as well. So,
I mean, Hammy and Gatsby were both on Rogue together, if I'm not mistaken.
And they were actually they were talking about creating a team together, and the Gatsby was going to be one of the players on that squad as well. So definitely there is that kind of synergy continuing to be built among Old School's roster.
Yeah, absolutely. That has been kind of the theme, honestly, across the course of this draft so far. You can see Gatsby's stats there on the board. Loves to play Reza. I have to say, as a spectator, Reza players are some of my favorite players because there's just so much always happening in the game. They're such explosive players. I love to see the plays that you can make on Reza because that hero has so much potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see if he is still going to be going towards that Reza pick, if he's going to be in a role to play in this team that's been put together. And that's, again, something that's going to be kind of up in the air until the draft is fully finished of who's going to be playing what role. And some of these captains may even want to keep that a secret until it's actually game time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Xenotech, you are on the clock right now. I want to talk to you a little bit about your history as a player as well, because you've been around the scene for a very long time, right? You know the players, you know the scene, but you've more recently been stepping into streaming and YouTubing and content creation.
Yes.
Is a tournament like this kind of refreshing for you?
Oh, I miss competitive so much. Like, I have a lot of competitive experience. I've been doing it since I started playing VG. Just recently, I decided to set down a lot to focus on the content. So I'd still say I have a lot of knowledge on the game and all that. And yeah, I would definitely say this is pretty awesome. I definitely miss it a lot.
Yeah, so kind of a way to revisit
Hit
that.
me in the feels, man.
That's we've got emotional here in the studio, but definitely excited to see how you're going to be able to do in this tournament, or what role you play as well, because I know historically you've played a lot of jungle, but earlier you were saying you can kind of mix it up.
So like, jungle was definitely 3v3, and like with this new patch, I've actually been really enjoying jungle, so I might go back to that role with the new patch. But yeah, I've just been playing everything because without being on competitive, like I can decide to play whatever, and in solo queue, you just have to decide.
Yeah.
Like you don't really get to decide what you're playing, and you have to be able to fill all sorts of roles.
Now, you mentioned that you're really enjoying jungle on this update. What role were you preferring on previous updates? You know, when the meta was drastically different than I think what it's going to be going forward.
Definitely mid and bot lane. Like bot lane, in my opinion, was the easiest role. You literally just sat in lane, and then your jungler would come sit in your lane and get you 3 levels ahead of the top laner, and yeah, you basically can carry the game from there. Definitely the easiest solo role, in my opinion. And then mid lane was my favorite, just because you can affect the entire map.
Yeah.
You can roam top, you can roam bot, and just really dismantle an opposing team.
Yeah, I think the movement speed from the river just
Exactly.
makes huge differences for roaming purposes. But Let's take a look at who is still available for these guys to take a look at. We are starting to run out of players at this stage. We've got 5 remaining in the middle column and 6 on the far right. But we are starting to run out of time for your pick now, Xenotech. So I'm going to pass it back over to you. Who are you leaning towards in this situation? It's about time that we get that locked in.
So I'm looking at supports here, and like a lot of people took out the top support players, Max Green, Shade of Talent. Both very amazing players, but there is a lot of good solo queue supports on the list still. I played a lot with Habs. He's actually pretty amazing, really underrated player. I don't know much about the final phase, but from the little I've gathered, he's actually a pretty solid support player as well. But I think I gotta go with the person that I've played a little bit with and think has a lot of potential, and it's gotta be Habs.
Awesome. So Xenotech is going to take Habs off the board.
All right, so number 23 taken off the board. That is going to be Xenotech now with a 5-man roster. Just to remind you guys as well, there are going to be 6 players on each roster at the end of the draft, including the team captain. So there will be 1 more pick for those 2 guys. But Lost Boy Toph, you are now on the clock once again. But let's talk a little bit about Habs here, Xenotech, because he's definitely a player that is one of the more unknown factors for sure. Is this information you've been getting from the teammates you've already picked up here to move on in, or how did you find out about Habs? Is he a guy that you've played with a lot specifically?
So, like a lot of teams have like approached me about still being competitive, and he was on one of these rosters, and I started playing with him and a few others. Huge shout out to Supremo. But yeah, Habs is actually a really underrated sport that I think is going to come out. There's a lot of great players still on the list. Like, I think Aki can play just about anything. I think Jets is an amazing carry. Unfortunately, on the list there, you had to pick the super priority picks or get kind of steamrolled.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Now, what's interesting to me is that, obviously Habs 23, you wouldn't think would be a priority for anyone. Did you kind of go for him with your 4th pick instead of saving for your 5th pick, just on the concern that maybe it was someone that someone else had already played with and knew as well? Because after getting deceived, kind of taken from you last go around, were you just wanting to just guarantee that you had that support and just make sure you were all set?
well, since our 5th pick is sort of either going to be a sub or we're going to sub and be coach, I really wanted to look at to fill out this part of the roster. So if I wanted to play, I know where my role is. And then for this last pick, I'm going to be looking to if I want to sub out, what player would take my role or a specific hero that they're really good at.
Okay, cool. So just trying to fill out each and every role, trying to really like fill out that roster to a competitive level so that you guys are ready to
and
compete.
like since carry's just so essential this patch, you need to have like 3 really good players mechanically.
Get those lanes covered and then worry
then
about
get
the
the
jungle
support
and
player,
support.
correct.
Cool. All right. So Toph, you are currently on the clock. Let's talk a little bit about your history as a player as well, because you've been around the scene a decently long time at this stage. You kind of built a name for yourself, making these crazy plays, 1v3ing, doing all of these crazy shenanigans. And I mean, you've won tournaments yourself a while ago now. So how confident are you coming on into this one with a storied history behind you?
Pretty confident. With this patch even, I've been playing quite a bit and I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to be playing. But with all my experience with competitive and playing live on stage and stuff like that, I think I get pretty comfortable with it. I don't think it's gonna be too hard to, I don't know, just this whole draft thing. I think it could go either way with each of the captains. But I'm pretty confident with my draft so far.
Yeah. I mean, if you take a look over at the board with Karina over there, how do you feel it's all shaping out so far?
Everyone are trying to pick players who either have good synergy or just who have played together before, in like past teams and whatnot. And yeah, I think it's overall kind of balanced. Right now, like it's kind of hard to decide because we are dropping down to the few players left. But I kind of sort of have an idea what role I'm trying to get or what the other person I'm going to choose is.
All right, well, your timer is slowly but surely ticking on down. We are getting on into your last minute of pick time. So it's officially time, Toff.
So,
you've got to make that decision.
All right, well, been communicating with one of my boys. I'm deciding on 2 people right now. Right now, it's like it's either Suki or Maurice, which I believe they both play top lane. But yeah, I think I'm...
We're running out of time. 30 seconds left to make the pick. If you don't pick, you will auto-draft the highest ranked remaining player.
Okay.
Just a heads up on that one.
All right. Well...
So you have 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, like I've talked to Maurice for a little bit, so yeah, I'm probably going to have to lock in Maurice the Beast.
All right, Maurice the Beast is off the board with Lost Boy Tough.
Thank you.
So there it is. 4th pick for Lost Boy Tough, going to be Maurice the Beast. Solo queue superstar coming on in. Tidbit for anyone at home that's not heard of Maurice the Beast, actually the top ranked player in North American solo queue. So
should have gone first.
Should have gone first.
You had the chance.
I think that he's
You
been
passed it
underestimated in
up.
this draft
Completely
so
missed
far.
that.
Starboy, you are going to be on the clock next, so get thinking about your next pick. Lost Boy Tough, talk to me a little bit about Maurice the Beast, though, because this is a guy, obviously, solo queue superstar, top of the ladder, definitely shows mechanical skill. It shows that you are at least good at the game, right? But how do you feel he's going to match into your team as someone who doesn't have a ton of competitive experience?
Yeah, no, I think Maurice is overall like a good player, but judging by like all the other players, I feel like he's also like been playing the new patch quite a bit. So yeah, no, it was a hard decision to choose either one of those 2. Yeah, like I think he's a pretty solid player. He is top lane. I think it will probably fit well with us, I'm hoping.
We can see his statistics here on the screen as well. A big alpha player with an 80% win rate as well. So definitely a very strong player, very confident player. I'm excited to see, especially with a player like Maurice the Beast, someone that has been wanting to get into competitive, if he takes this as an opportunity to really make some big plays on the stage here.
Giving him a chance.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if he takes this as his moment here. So, Starboy, where are you leaning towards here when we have a look at the remaining top available players here? Because we're starting to get short on the list. We're starting to run out of options.
I still need a jungler, obviously, unless I want to jungle myself. So that's the biggest problem for me right now is just getting the jungler. But I got 2 picks, so I'm not too worried. I don't know if you guys know the information on any of these heroes with VG Pro or anything, but I don't know if you guys can fill me in on who jungles from this list.
I mean, I have to defer to my analyst on my right here, Tasty Bacon.
Well, as you mentioned, this is one of the situations where a lot of the players are, when they're in solo queue, they play various different roles. So it's tough to pick out who among this list is primarily a jungler, because even all we see is what they primarily play, not necessarily what role they're in. And a lot of the jungle heroes are also lane heroes right now. So
I mean, a really good example is actually Max Green. When you look at his solo queue stats, his top played is Lyra, but his second most played is Celeste, which typically you don't see in the captain role. So sometimes it's kind of difficult to glean with these players that have less competitive experience what their main role actually is going to be when they get on into the tournament. So we'll have to see. I mean, one of the big players that stands out for me is Tsuki. He's a guy that we've seen in competitive play yet to be picked up. Is he a consideration for you right now, Starboy, or do you feel you need a more utility player?
I haven't personally played with them, to be honest. I don't know how they play. I've never had any experience with them, so I wouldn't know. I know a couple of other people said they're pretty good. I kind of want to know if the Ninja players are name changes, because if they are, I'd probably know them from their past IGNs. but I don't have any experience with any of them. Right now, I've got a couple picks in mind, though. I do know for sure of one jungle player, so it seems more probable that I'm going to go with them. But I do have 2 picks, so I got to think ahead, too.
You have 2 picks, but they are your final 2 picks as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind is after this pick, round 4 is going to be done. There's only 1 pick left for each of you. So you make sure you got to get the player that you think will be able to round out your composition and can possibly maybe you look into a player that you know can fill multiple roles just in case they are needed to come in as a sub for an emergency situation.
Yeah, absolutely. We are starting to run out of time on your pick here, Starboy, but just before we lock yours in, we actually have Christian from SEMC, the CEO. He's actually tweeting saying that he's loving the show so far, loving the draft, and obviously wishing you guys the best as we move forward towards these last picks. So good to see Christian still watching the esports stuff. But Starboy, it's time to get to your pick. You're under a minute. Where are you going to go with this 4th lock-in?
I have to go with, he's the only player that I've played with before. And it was for a brief time on Slimy Salamanders with Iraqi. I'm going to have to go with Jets because I know he's a good jungle player. He's solid. He's also versatile. I know he can play bot as well. That's definitely going to be one of my 2 picks. I just have to think a little bit ahead now.
All right, Starboy's locking in iJets.
All right, so Jets going to be locked in. That's the 22nd player on the list. Going to now be taken off the board for Starboy, which means, as it's the snake draft, Starboy, you are on the clock once again. This will be your final pickup. So whether you want this to be your sub or whether you've got a sneaky last player that you've not wanted to draft just yet, you've got 5 minutes to think about your final pick and consider what roles you have as well, because this is your last opportunity to round things out now.
Maybe send a DM over to Christian, see what his thoughts are for your final pick. You can see Starboy is getting on the phone there. Probably going to be contacting some of the members of his team. That's what a lot of these guys have been talking about. They're messaging members that they've already drafted in order to figure out who they want to go with their last couple of picks. Just having that extra mindset, the extra mind, the extra experience in solo queue with some of these names, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how it's all going to pan out. I want to remind you guys at home as well, we have been having giveaways going all across throughout the stream, and we're going to continue to have them across the course of the VPL Fantasy All-Stars tournaments. Right now, in the chat, there is $100 available as a gift card. All you have to do is get involved in the Twitch chat. You have your chance to win yourself $100. So make sure that you are getting involved. We're also giving away 25,000 ice every single week. We're giving away a whole bunch of Vainglory swag as well. We've got plushies, we've got t-shirts, we've got stickers. But right now, there is a $100 gift card being given away in the Twitch chat. Make sure you are getting involved because, I mean, what's better than just managing to win prizes purely from watching alone?
Yeah, you could use that $100 gift card to buy yourself a Vainglory plushie if you don't get one from a future giveaway.
There you go.
They are amazing plushies, I do have to say. I have the Minion at home. I didn't actually get a chance to get the Scarf plushie when they were first around, but definitely want to because it's adorable.
All right, well, we'll see who's going to be able to take that one home. We'll be giving out more of those across the course of the weekends, though. Let's take a look at Starboy's history, though, as a player, because Starboy, you've been around the scene maybe a little less than the other 3 on the desk, but for a good while at this stage. And, you actually managed to place 3rd back in the LA Championship in 2017. So do you feel like with the guys that you've drafted in here, you're going to be able to use that competitive experience and be able to work with these guys? I know with the first 2 picks, you were picking them up because of how much you played with them in the past. Do you feel you're going to have that level of synergy with like Max Green and iJets as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think we'll all mesh pretty well together. I think most of us, too, are pretty laid back in terms of like communication and stuff. Louis is very vocal, or Outplayed XD, really vocal. Starting is vocal, but I think most of us are pretty mellow and we're easy to get along with. So I think it'll mesh pretty well with what I have so far. The final picks that I'm looking at, I know one of them, I'm leaning towards him. I don't know all the information yet, but I'm leaning towards him, and I also know that he's a pretty laid-back player as well. I just haven't quite decided. I honestly haven't even decided exactly what roles everybody's going to be playing. Obviously, we still have a lot of time to get over that, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you're going to have tonight as well to strategize with these guys,
Yeah,
figure out the
absolutely.
game plan before the games kick off tomorrow. There are 8 picks remaining on the board. We are starting to run short on players. Tsuki's still available, a few other guys towards the end as well. Some of the guys that were mentioned early on in the day. I'm curious to see where we go from here. But when we look at your time, you got 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Starboy, if you're ready to lock in your pick, we're about ready to take it from you. So is there someone that you're looking at right now?
Just because I'm not super aware of the rest of the players, I know this player is a solid player. I'm going to go with Aki. He's solid. I've played with him several times. I was just playing with him this morning, actually. He's good all around. I know that he plays well with a couple of the other players on my team. I think I have a pretty solid roster all around with him now.
All right, so last and final for Starboy, we're going with Aki.
All right, so last player locked in for Starboy. That is his complete roster now. Starting all over, Outplayed, Max Green, iJets, and Aki. And of course, Starboy, going to be the captain of that squad. So, Lost Boy Toff, you're now going to be on the clock, but Starboy, how do you feel about your fully rounded out composition now? You've got your 6 players, including yourself. Are you comfortable with the guys you've drafted?
I'm extremely comfortable. I'm actually super impressed with how it turned out, just because I wasn't sure because, again, I started out having to go behind all the other priority picks, but honestly, it turned out pretty well for me. I'm happy with the players. I know that I'll have a good sub regardless. No matter who's going to be playing what position, there will be somebody versatile who's going to be available. So, yeah, I'm super confident.
Absolutely. So those
All
are
the picks.
going to be the picks that we see coming on in. So I'm excited to see how that's all going to pan out for you across the course of this tournament. I'm curious to see what you're going to bring to the table in terms of positions as well, what roles everyone steps on into. But sorry, go on, Baker.
I was going to say, the thing that I find most impressive about the team that Starboy put together was every single pick. He mentioned, I've played with this person before. I know who this is. I've had games with them.
It's just all that blitz gameplay, man.
We've been on comms together. So I think that that's actually something that is really beneficial for a team, is that they do all have some experience playing and talking to each other before.
All right, we'll see if that's going to be a big factor. So, Lost Boy, I can see you're getting creative over on your portion
notes
of the desk there. What are you feeling right now in terms of the draft? You're getting towards your very last pick. This is all or nothing now for you. Who are you leaning towards here?
Yeah, no, this is a hard decision. I don't really know too much about these last several players, but I have ran into them before, and right now I'm contacting one of my teammates. I don't know who to choose.
All right, let's take a look at the players that are available while you ponder that one over. We just have 7 players remaining now. We've got Zipix, It's Kamina in the final phase on the far right, and then we have the 3 ninjas and Suki in the middle row remaining. And the ninjas, I kind of feel bad for them a little bit here, because one of the big things is that they're Spanish speakers rather than English speakers, which is, it's a difficult one to maneuver.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough spot. I feel like if you were going to draft them, it would have had to have been, with the possibility of getting all of them together. So it is unfortunate there. We could still see maybe one of them get picked up if need be, just because there is talent on that team. But again, if you're breaking up the Ninja Squad even further, you're not sure how that's going to pan out. But these are the last picks. These are our last 3 picks. Each of these guys are going to be finishing off their teams. So, make sure you keep that in your mind. Make sure, as you're mulling over and deciding your last pick, that this is something that either has to fill a gap that you feel like you might still have, or play into that kind of flexibility and being able to fit in where needed if they do end up playing for you.
Absolutely. So, how confident are you guys so far? Old school. It's been a while since we talked to you. How confident are you right now with your roster that you have available versus the other rosters that have been drafted, especially Starboy, who has his full 6 players now? Are you feeling good about the team that you've got?
Of course, I'm definitely confident with my roster.
All right.
Yes.
Wow.
Good.
Are you actually confident?
All right. So, at least that's one player. Xenotech, how are you feeling about your draft so far?
I think I have a really strong roster. I think that overall they're going to gel really well. Really looking forward to tomorrow. See what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are starting to run down the clock here, Toph. You're just over a minute, just a couple of seconds over a minute on your final pick of the draft. Who are you going to go with to round this whole thing out?
All right. You know, I've been thinking about it, and I think I finally decided what I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna probably go with Suki.
Suki.
Awesome. So
Yes.
Suki for Lost Boy Toph to finish off his team.
All right, so all 6 players locked in there for Lost Boy Toph. How are you feeling about that full-on roster? Xenotech, you're now on the clock, but Toph, what do you think? Your full 6-man roster's there. Are you feeling good about that? Are you feeling happy with what you've got locked in?
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't really, I don't know, I haven't really voice communicated with some of these players before, but I know they're pretty skilled. But yeah, no, last pick, Suki, I've seen him play a lot, but my teammate said we should probably get him or either one of the ninjas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been seen around the pro scene. We saw just on his stat board just now, he's a big Samuel player, very much a player that's going to be consistent for you on your roster. And we'll see if he's going to be able to step in as well. That's one of the things. There are 6 players here. I'm curious to see how many substitutions that there are going to be across the course of tomorrow. Obviously, there's a best of, it's a round robin, sorry. So multiple best of ones will be happening tomorrow before that final. So plenty of opportunity to get involved. I can see Zeno texting away here, trying to get ready for that last pick. The communication's going well with the team. Are you getting some advice from your squad mates there?
A little bit. We're more setting up times to play.
Also important, though.
Yeah,
So-
definitely important.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the ninjas, I actually kind of think if one person dedicated their entire roster to picking all 3 up, it could have been just absolutely brutal because I don't think anybody else would have picked someone away from it. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity by myself, to be honest. But I'm not really sure who It's Kamina is. I've been trying to find information. I've asked a bunch of people, and they don't know.
Wow, dude. You're gonna do him like that?
I didn't mean it that way.
Wow, dude. Yeah, this person's actually a random, so that's a no.
I don't know what role he plays.
Alright.
The final phase seems like a really good support player, but the only person I've seen play the game a lot is Zipnix, so I think he'll bring a good depth to the roster, but I'm not sure.
All right.
I'm flip-flopping between 3 picks here.
I'm going to leave you to ponder that for a moment. Let's take a look at the remaining players in the pool right now that Xenotech's trying to pick from. As you can see, there are only 6 players remaining. And an important note, the 4 remaining players at the end of this draft that aren't picked up will be extra substitutes for tomorrow in case players can't get on or if things are not working out within the team. We'll be able to see them. I can see Xenotech still working the phone, trying to get the scrims organized at this stage, get ready for tomorrow. That's not a criticism. Feel free to continue. I'm not trying to put you on the spot there.
Every time we mention it,
Calm down, sir. Calm down.
yeah. And you mentioned that you're kind of coordinating the times. That's kind of something I think is important that all of you are going to have to be doing is getting all these players coordinated. You have 1 day to get them all on the same page before the tournament starts tomorrow. So, for those of you who have those finished teams, kind of what's your mindset of how you're going to be getting your squad together? How are you going to, coordinate everyone and, what's going to be the plan for tonight going into tomorrow?
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, we're just gonna bring everyone together.
Have you been communicating with your team?
Yeah,
trying to
no,
organize
absolutely.
practice?
Yeah, no, we've already got a lot of it worked out. We pretty much have a pretty good idea of where we're going to be placing everybody in their positions. I'm definitely going to be playing with them tonight. Yeah, no, we're pretty comfortable with it. I think my roster so far, I'm looking at all the other options for the rest of the rosters. I think I've got a pretty good shot just because if you look at the rest of the players left, honestly, Zeno's team is looking like probably the strongest to me now, but it's subjective.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely subjective. You're absolutely right there. Toph, how's preparation going with you? Or in fact, actually, we're starting to run out of time, so I'm going to go straight to you, Xenotech. You got 30 seconds on the clock to make this last pick. What are you feeling?
All right, so after insane amount of deliberation, I got to go with Zipnix. I know he's a really solid player. So I think he'll bring a lot of thought process behind drafting, etc. Or even if we sub him in, Zipnix.
Awesome. So Xenotech is taking Zipnix for his final player.
All right, so that is the third roster now to be completed in its entirety. All 6 players locked on in. Old School, you are now on the clock once again for the final pick of the entire draft. Xenotech, are you happy with your 6-man roster? How do you feel that's panned out in the end?
I think it's a really strong roster. Everybody's roster is looking absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be an absolute blast tomorrow. But I think I have the edge right now.
You think you got an edge? All right, so confident moving forward into tomorrow. We'll see if it's going to work out for you. I'm curious to see what the strategies are going to be coming on in tomorrow. I know you've already been texting everyone, trying to get practices organized. Fingers crossed that all works out and you're able to get some strategies on the go. So, Old School, over to you now. Final pick of the entire draft. How are you feeling coming on into this? Is almost kind of pressure on you just to round everything out with the last pick here.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with a lot of these players.
Okay.
All right, well, you can see the remaining players on the screen right there, the 3 ninjas, then you got Kamina and the final phase. Obviously, we have had a little conversation about final phase. Xenotech saying that he is a pretty strong captain available. We've got Kamina, and then obviously the 3 ninjas who, unfortunately, language issues may go unpicked, but the remaining 4 players, let's remember, will be available subs for tomorrow as well. So should players not be able to turn up or anything like that, they will be available to be picked up for that situation. But we have a bit of a giveaway going on. I don't know if you've noticed, I don't know if you've heard me across the rest of the day. We have giveaways going on across the course of the entire tournament. The VPL Fantasy All-Stars. We have today, right now, we are going to be doing an ice giveaway in chat right out of this. So make sure that you're keeping your eyes peeled and getting involved in the chat. But we're going to be doing a whole bunch of giveaways across the course of this entire tournament. Not just this weekend, not just today and tomorrow, but each weekend of the rest of the tournament as well. So make sure you're tuning in. All you have to do is watch the stream, get involved in the Twitch chat, and you can win some prizes for yourselves. I was expecting you to bounce off a bit there.
You covered it. That's all. You got to just be in the chat, be active, and you'll get yourself some prizes. And again, ice, plushies, T-shirts, stickers, gift cards, like just straight up cash that you can use with those gift cards. So lots of different things going on for just being in the chat, being active. I know there's a couple giveaways maybe going on Twitter as well. So make sure you get yourself involved there as well and get as much as you can off of this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see who's going to be our winners across the course of today. They'll obviously be announced in the Twitch chat and on social media. Let's take a look at the board right now and how we stand. If we take a look over with Karina, we'll have a bit of a run through of the rosters that we do have. We've got Starting All Over, Outplayed, Max Green, Jets, and Aki. In Starboy squad, Lost Boy Tough squad, we have Truth of Light, Delphi, Deceived, Maurice the Beast, and Suki. For Xenotech, we have Chuck locked in, PvP Warrior, Tivo, Habs, and Zipnix. And then with Old School, we've got Hammy, Shaded Talent, Neon Fire, and Gatsby to round it out. And very shortly, we'll have his final pick locked on in. And we'll have all of our rosters locked on down. Old School, let's check in with you. How are you feeling about this last pick? You got 1 minute and 30 seconds left to deliberate.
I'm actually leaning towards the final phase because I've heard from Xenotech that he is a support player, and yeah, I mean, I probably already have a support player in mind, but just in case. I think
But-
I'm probably gonna go.
Xenotech's your opponent this weekend. He could have just been laying deceit, playing those mind games for that 4D chess on you.
All right, well, we're ready for your pick, so if you're happy to lock that in, let's get your final decision, Old School.
I'm gonna lock in the final phase.
All right, we're finishing off the draft with the final phase for Old School.
There we have it, the final rosters. Take a look at those boards. Those are the rosters for each of our captains. So, first of all, congratulations on finishing out the draft, guys. How are you all feeling? Let's just go along the line. Who do you guys think are favorites? Are you all confident in yourself? Starboy, we'll start with you.
Well, obviously, I'm confident in my roster. I know all the players. I know they're good players. I think we have as good a shot as anybody. Like I said, Xeno's is looking probably the best to me, my team aside. As far as the other two, Top's team, dude, his team fell off so hard. He had Truth and Delphi. It was so promising. Everybody was like, good team. And then Deceived and Maurice. I don't know, dude.
All right.
So much shade, right?
Past,
Yeah.
So much
We'll
shade.
try to prove themselves.
past that, nah, like I said, Xeno's good. Old School has a solid team. School is good players. I mean, there's not a lot to say there. It's a good team.
All right, Top, how are you feeling about how the draft's panned out for you?
Okay, well, I think I made a good decision. I picked people who, I don't know, haven't really gotten much shine in like competitive scene, and I believe they can make plays and like I don't know, do the team good. And with Truth and Delphi, I know they're both like a good duo. But yeah, I don't know. I might have to, if I need to, I could switch out one of the players. I don't really know too much about Suki, but I know he's a decent player. Maurice, like people, I don't know why, but they kind of look down on him, and you know, like I kind of want to like I don't know, give him
an
some
opportunity.
playtime.
Going for the humble and hungry players. I like
Yeah.
it. Give them an opportunity to shine. We'll see if they're going to be able to tomorrow. Xenotech, let's move on to you. How do you feel about your roster in the end? Do you feel confident moving into tomorrow?
I really do. I think that I've put together a really great group of players. That being said, I think Starboy's roster is super solid. Outplayed Louis Vuitton Don, like great player. Max Green, amazing. Jets, like an all-around, can play every role. Lost Boy Top, as he said, like although these players aren't known, like Maurice the Beast is actually a really good top laner. Suki is, I was actually going to pick him way earlier in the draft. He's actually like one of the players that puts in a lot of time right now. So I think that Top's roster is really solid. And then School, like I don't even think you have to go over these players. Like Hammy was like going to be my first pick, and then got taken away from me because I had to take away the team synergy.
The self-denial.
So basically, I had to break my own heart. And then Shaded, like, I've always loved Shaded as a player. I think all the rosters are going to do great tomorrow.
All right, so good rosters coming on in. And Old School, how do you feel you fared across the course of the draft here?
I think all the drafts are really solid. I'd say the most intimidating roster would most likely be Xenotech's roster, but that would be aside from my roster. I think I have the strongest roster.
All right, so confident going on into tomorrow. Tasty Bacon, I'm going to ask you to give me a bit of a rundown here. Do you think someone's won this draft? Give me some grades for the 4 drafts we've got here.
I have to say, I think the highest grade for this draft is going to go to Old School, largely because it's almost an unfair factor in the fact that Old School, I think, if he wasn't one of the captains, would be in that top 4 conversation. And so it's the fact that he kind of had a top pick already squared away with himself, and then got to have the next pick with Hammy. So he was able to then dip into some of the more utility players a bit earlier than everyone else. So, I mean, obviously, not to take anything away from the rest of the guys here, but Xenotech has mentioned he's more of a utility player. Can play into any role. Lost by Top, same thing. It can play into multiple roles. Starboy's only just coming back to Vainglory now. So, Old School had that carry already squared away, and everyone was prioritizing carries right off the bat. Going next from that, I would go into Xenotech, and then Lost by kind of taking those
finish
established but
rounding out.
unknown.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do actually have starting all over getting involved on social media, just with the capital LOL. So obviously very happy to be joining Starboy on Sovereign's Rise. I mean, what do you
We're
make
very
of that,
unhappy.
Starboy?
You never know.
Yeah, it's
Nah,
kind of
nah,
a
nah.
hard tweet to
We
read.
talked
though.
beforehand. We already knew what was up. You know, Closet tweeted like 10 minutes before it started. He said he's going to be picked first. He thought he was all smart, but he's literally the top name, I mean, obviously.
I mean, yeah, he was
You
the top of
cannot
the
pick
rankings.
starting, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting fantastic player. I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do here in this tournament. Let's remember, this is the tournament all about individual play as well. There's very little time for these guys to build synergy as a team. So a lot of this is going to be down to those individual playmakers winning games individually. So I'm very excited to see what happens tomorrow. Bacon, do you have any advice here for these players on what they should be doing, getting ready for tomorrow?
I mean, a lot of these guys are already on it, getting those texts out, making sure, hey guys, when are you free? Let's get some practice in. Let's go play some games. But again, most of these guys knew the players that they've already drafted. They have conversation with, they're going to be able to figure out kind of what they've already established. But guys, for those of you that have maybe started to set up those practices, what exactly are you going to be practicing? Are you going to be focusing on just building the synergy, or are you going to be focusing on trying to figure out what sort of compositions you want to run? Like, what's the priority number one for practicing tonight?
I think initially it's going to be getting a feel for who you're playing with, just see how y'all, and some of us, like we said, like different players can play different positions. So it's going to be based off of like who's going to be getting in what roles, getting a feel for that. But past that, it's definitely going to be preparing for the specific teams we're going against. We already know exactly what the other rosters are. It's not overwhelming. It's only 3 other teams. You can definitely prepare specifically for each roster, and I'm sure that's probably what each of our teams is going to be doing.
All right, let's take a moment to recap the prize pool that everybody is going to be playing for here. What is on the line? It's $2,000 available, and it is a winner-takes-all tournament. So everything is going to be on the line tomorrow. They're going to play a best of 3, which is 3 best of, they're going to play a round robin, which is 3 best of 1s. And the winner of that round robin, or the 2 winners of that round robin, will move on to the final. Obviously, it's watch and win as well. We've been doing giveaways across the course of today, and we will continue to do so. There is 25,000 ice available per weekend, as well as $500 in gift cards, as well as a whole bunch of Vainglory swag. So make sure you're keeping your eyes on that Twitch chat. Now we can take a look at that grand prize as well. It's going to be $2,000. It's going to be winner takes all.
Yeah, that's the key, is winner takes all. There's only one team that will be getting the prizing. And so you guys there, obviously 3 of you going to be leaving empty-handed. How do you feel about that, knowing that only one of you is going to be walking away with
That
the prize?
must suck, dog.
I can't believe it.
All right.
Well, all
So
right.
generally upset about the situation. I mean, how confident are you guys that you're going to be able to walk away with that? I think Old School's probably been the most confident out of you guys on just straight up being able to take it. I mean, do you feel like you're the favorite Old School right now?
Yeah.
Any context as to why?
I think it goes back to also what Tasty Bacon was saying. I think I do have an advantage being like maybe like one of the top 4 already if I like was one of the available rosters. So being able to draft like players on the same level as everyone else like gives me a little bit of an advantage.
Okay, we'll see if that's going to be able to work out for you tomorrow. And I think a lot of it is going to be down to the preparation tonight. Let's take a look at what tomorrow is going to look like. Here are your 4 team captains. It will be a singular round robin, which means each of the team captains will play 1 game against every other opponent. So we will have a full group stage tomorrow morning. Then the top 2 will move on into a best of 3 final to decide who will take that $2,000 prize home.
Now, the biggest question I have for you guys, though, is are you going to be naming your teams, or are you just going to go with Starboy's team, Lost by Tops team, Xenotech's team, Old School's team?
We can
are you going to have
them?
names?
We can. We can name it. Dude,
I mean, I don't think we'll be changing the graphics.
Probably not
but
officially on the graphic, but you can give your team a name.
spirit name.
That's cute, dude.
All right, so gentlemen, final thoughts here on the draft. We'll start with you, Starboy, and move along. Are you confident moving into tomorrow? How happy are you with how today has gone for you?
I'm absolutely happy. I mean, like I said before, I think all the teams are actually pretty even. I think pretty much everybody has a good shot at any. I agree with School. I think his team and Zeno's team are looking pretty strong, to be honest. But I honestly think anybody has a chance. All these players are pretty evenly matched, especially if you look at like the first priority picks. It's pretty even across the board. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Lost Boy Top, how are you feeling moving on into tomorrow? Now, we've seen the format and we've seen all the rosters.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling proud with my picks. I hope we all get together and figure out what we want to do. Yeah, I would like to give a shout out to the supporters of Vainglory and my fans. Thanks for watching us, and yeah.
All right, Xenotech, you feeling comfortable and confident moving on into tomorrow as well?
No, yeah, definitely. Like, as I said before, like, the roster is really solid, and all we have to do is figure out the roles that we're going to play and just show up tomorrow. I want to give a huge shout out to the Ghoul Nation. Thank you so much for supporting. I'll see you guys back on Monday.
All right, and then finally, Old School as well. We've already spoken to you. We know you're confident. Talk to me about tomorrow. Is there a game plan moving on into these games on how you're going to tackle this?
I think tonight for all the teams is definitely going to come down to like how well the teams prepare and like how well like prepared they are for all the different teams, because a lot of the teams are going to be, they're going to have different play styles because they have like different combination of top players from different teams. So like it's just going to be interesting to see how those players like come together, and are they going to be willing to like maybe like let in on their own personal team secrets to like win this tournament.
All right, so the kind of merging of the minds, as it were. So, Karina, this has been your very first esports event as well. Have you had fun today joining us?
I have had a blast. It's been pretty cool watching everybody kind of strategize and like figure out what they were going to do at the end when there was no players really left that they really knew. So it was cool.
Absolutely.
Hope to do it again.
Thank you very much for all your help. You've been absolutely
Anytime.
fantastic. That's going to be about it from us, though, for today. I've been Munchables. This has been Tasty Bacon as well. Bacon, final thoughts on today. How are you feeling? Ready for tomorrow?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow, seeing how these teams are going to come together. You know, you look at the draft board, a couple of teams have a lot of synergy clearly already on them. A couple others are going to have to figure things out. Can't wait to see how it goes.
Absolutely. It's about time to wrap things up for today. Make sure you join us noon Pacific time to kick off the games tomorrow. We'll see you then.